Hello, my name is Merlin Mar Johnson. I am the Executive Vice President of Salazar Resources, which is a Canadian-listed Ecuadorian explorer developer. Salazar Resources has a market cap of around 50 million Canadian. It's listed on the TSXV and on the OTCQX. We've already made a great discovery in the El Domo mine, and that has gone through feasibility and is in permitting now. So we've submitted the EIA. That's got a considerable NPV value on it, and we've farmed out 75% on that. So we are fully carried all the way through to production on that. That underpins our valuation, and we are looking to make the next great discovery, the next great copper gold discovery in Ecuador through our 100% portfolio and our fantastic exploration team.
Merlin, lovely to have you back on board. I haven't seen you since July to talk about Salazar. Just wondered, I thought it was timely to catch up at the end of the year, so see how you have progressed and if you've delivered on everything that you said you would in 2021, and maybe a little snapshot of what 2022 could be like. I do want to talk to you, though, about Ecuador as a jurisdiction. We have talked about it before, but it would suggest a recent ruling, Los Cedros ruling, suggests that the government is not as pro-mining as they said they would be.
Oh, my goodness. Well, there's been so much that's happening, that has happened in Ecuador over the past 12 months. Firstly, I will come to the Los Cedros ruling, but the key thing to remember is that the new government was inaugurated in late May, and that's President Lasso and his center-right party. They were dealing with the pandemic at the time, the COVID pandemic, and they did this huge vaccination program. They were incredibly effective and pragmatic and solution focused on that. And then they turned their eye to the mining sector. And in late July, President Lasso called the first meeting in over a decade with the Chamber of Mines, and he laid out his plan for the development of the country, which included the need for foreign direct investment and export growth and job creation and all of that. And the mining sector is one of the few sectors in Ecuador that can provide that kind of investment and that kind of economic stimulus. So he came very positive on the mining sector. He's not naturally a mining guy. He hasn't got a lot of background in mining, but he set out this executive decree number 151, which was a set of pragmatic steps to ensure that the responsible mining industry didn't have any obstacles and had a kind of a way to look through to kind of continued investment. And practical things that have come out of that is that he's aligned all of the ministries. We've seen that with the feasibility study on El Domo, we've seen that there's huge amount of kind of federal support for this project, because they can see that it's going to be stimulating $200 million, $250 million of investment into Ecuador. So lots of leadership from the top. When I spoke to him about 6 weeks ago, I asked him directly, I said, are we going to have...
So you spoke to who?
The president. There was the COP26 meeting up in Glasgow, and I went up there, and there was a fringe... He did his big declaration about the marine biosphere, and then there was an afternoon where there was an Ecuador afternoon, and there was an hour-long session with a bunch of investors, to which I went. And I asked him the direct question, are we going to get our mining permit next year? And he hummed and hawed, and he said, eventually, yes. And then...
sorry, to be clear, did he eventually say yes, or did he say, eventually you will get it?
No. He had spent the previous hour and a half not answering direct questions. And then I asked him a direct question, and he started giving his kind of generalist, well, we're going through the due process and due protocols. And then he looked me in the eye and he said, yes, you're going to get your mining permit. Because our project is the next major mine to be built in Ecuador. It's the only thing that's directly ready to put in $200 million next year or the next couple of years. And he knows that we've complied with all of the kind of social norms, all the regulatory stuff in that area. So there are no red flags. And he had previously, 2 weeks ago, and before that, he'd met with the team in Ecuador, and all of the ministries are working towards it. So, very positive. He also, just a month ago in Expo Minas, or actually earlier this month, he said the mining cadastre is going to open up in January or early next year, which will be a huge stimulus to exploration investment and is a key step in the development of the mining industry in Ecuador. So that's all positive. But yes, you're right. A week ago, there was this ruling up in the north, a license held by two companies in a particular cloud forest right on the border with Colombia. And the Constitutional Court made a ruling and said that nature has a part in the has a voice in the Ecuadorian constitution. And it wasn't a unanimous vote, but it was decided that these two companies should not, having failed to comply with the environmental work, and having failed to comply with the social work, in their opinion. Incidentally, this isn't the opinion of the Mines Ministry or the Environmental Agency. That the companies have complied with all of the rules and all of the norms. So this was kind of an extrajudicial act by the Constitutional Court, and it's been rebutted by the Chamber of Mines, and we've had very strong words from the government saying we are committed to responsible mining. So,
so that's really, really important, because it'll either it'll encourage people or it'll put them off if we get the wording right. So the ruling was specifically against two companies who hold a license who had failed to deliver on their as required by who?
Not even that. They had complied with all of the rules. I mean, this is going to be contested by the mining companies, and it's going to be contested, and it's going to be supported, I should imagine, by the government, the Mines Ministry. It's actually the Ministry of Energy and Non-Renewable Resources, and the Environment Ministry, because this was a ruling which is beyond the scope of the Constitutional Court. It opens up a can of legal worms for the government associated with those two licenses. So it's early days. We've got to see how the process goes. But I, from the tone of the language, from the conversations we've had internally with government in Ecuador, they are keen to put a lid on this and just say, no, that's just A is bonkers, and B, it's related to those two specific licenses.
Right. So as far as you're concerned, from what you heard from the president's mouth, his own lips, they are not anti-mining, they're pro-mining. There's lots of companies already operating in country, I know, but in terms of new mining, they're not anti it at all. It's not a case of nature first at all costs. It's be responsible miners and follow rule of law, and we're all good. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes. I mean, they are actually anti-illegal mining. They're really trying to crack down on illegal mining and artisanal mining. Not it's illegal artisanal. It's unregulated illegal mining, environmentally destructive, socially disruptive mining that they're really trying to crack down on. But they're equally trying to stimulate the growth of a responsible mining industry in Ecuador. And the government is crystal clear to us. They say you have to have best practice social engagement. You have to have community development. You have to be environmentally responsible. And to which we say, absolutely, we agree. And come and have a look at the work that we're doing. It is first rate. We're very fortunate that in Ecuador, we've got a couple of really good examples of community work. And we're a leading one in Salazar Resources is a leading exemplar for an exploration and development company. But then we've also got Lundin Gold with their Fruta del Norte mine, which is in production. And there's the Chinese mine, Chinese-run Mirador mine. And between the two of those, they are making such a valuable contribution to the economic side of Ecuadorian life that the government is really keenly aware of. They say, oh, look, this is what it looks like when it's done well. And this is the positive contribution it can do socially and economically for the country. Yes, we want to respect nature, but there's a balance in here, and we are supporting well-run, responsible projects. It's as simple as that.
Okay. So is that one we should keep a watching brief on in case things change? Because it sounds like there'll be some challenges from possibly both sides on this topic, won't there?
Well, yes, there will. But I would say just watch for progress. Just see when the cadastre opens early next year. That'll be a key step. And then the next thing will be is the mining license for El Domo, and whether that comes in 3, 6, or 8 months or 12 months. In the timetable that we've given ourselves, we've given 12 months because these are complex issues. The environmental social impact assessment that we put in was a huge documentation. And so these things have to be done properly. But during the course of 2022, we certainly expect to get the mining permit. And I think that will be a key kind of demonstration point that Ecuador continues to be open to business for mining, as it already is. I mean, it's not as if we'll be the first. It's just the continuation of that growth profile.
Okay, so the ESIA has been submitted. That typically takes how long to process?
We've given ourselves 12 months.
Okay.
The government is working very hard on it. If we can get it in less than 6 months, it would be fantastic. Anywhere between 6 months and 12 months would be good. Anything over the 12 months, well, it's taking longer than we'd expected, but we certainly don't expect it to be longer than 12 months. And in the timeline, we've given ourselves 12 months. So
right.
This time next year.
Okay. And you've got to be cautious here, because you also said to us that you would be drilling on 4 targets this year. You've only done 2. First of all, why was that? And talk us through grade yourself.
I know, grade myself. I grade Salazar Resources on delivery of this exploration. It hasn't. We haven't done all 4. That's absolutely correct. We drilled Los Osos, which is right next to Cangrejos. We did just under 5,000 meters there. Technical success. We got gold in almost every hole. In fact, we got gold in almost every sample, but the grades just weren't as high as we wanted to make a big splash.
So not a success. Not a success. Technical success means we'll leave that for a while. That's what that means.
Well, yes, but if you look at the grades that we got, they're just as good as results that other people are shouting about. Our results are pretty good, but we are looking for tier 1, high grade, large scale assets, and things that are going to just.
What's that mean? What's that mean? Because that's quite ambitious when a small company says that, because usually they're, as you say, clamoring to put any kind of news out. So when you say we're prepared to discount where others may find wonderful news because we're after tier 1, that's a very determined path you're taking. So what does that mean?
It simply means that in Ecuador, it's so underexplored that you might as well look for something big and high grade as you would for something small, because it's the land of the giants, so to speak. You've got the Andean porphyries that come up. In the presentation that I've been doing in the last couple of months, I've got a slide in there which talks about the evolution of discovery in the Andes. So there was a 20-year golden period of exploration in Chile when the low-hanging fruit, the big assets were discovered, and that includes Escondida and Collahuasi and a whole bunch of others, Spence. And that was from the mid-70s to the mid-90s. In Peru, there was also a 20-year period from the mid-80s to 2005 when Las Bambas was discovered. And in that 20-year period, you had all of these great deposits, Pierina, Yanacocha, Rio Blanco, etc. And so we're now into that kind of 20-year discovery period in Ecuador when the big assets are going to be found. And we are putting our efforts into making those kinds of discoveries. And, you've got Cascabel, which is found by SolGold, and that added at one stage $1 billion of value. It's come down a bit. You've got Solaris with the Warintza project. That's added over $1 billion worth of value. And these are big porphyries. They are, kilometer holes of close to 1% copper, in some cases, actually 1% copper. And that's the kind of thing that we're looking for. We're looking for assets which can really make a difference on the global scale.
Okay, so that paints a picture of what you're after. That didn't work out at Los Osos. Rumiñahui, haven't heard anything.
Okay, we started drilling Rumiñahui in October. It was always been one of Freddie's favorite targets. Now, the geologists in the team have been slightly cautious about it because even though it's on a porphyry trend, it's actually just outside the trend in a mobile belt. It's kind of a bit of geology that's been really mucked around and sheared and faulted. And so it didn't have all the classic alteration marks of a porphyry, plus it was marked masked by younger volcanics. We've put a hold underneath our key target. We've just taken, this is not actually, we haven't put out a news release on this, but we haven't put out a results notice because we haven't got results. There are delays in the labs. It's being processed, but from the geology that I can see, it's okay, but it hasn't got the right kind of geology to shout, we're in a big porphyry system. There's sulfides, there's good structure, but it hasn't got the geology for me that shouts, we're onto a kind of a recognizable geological system of a deposit. So yes, we have to wait for the results because there were some spectacular grades at surface in these quartz veins on a structure, and we've come underneath it and we've found very similar geology. So it may have spectacular grades, it may not, but for me, it's like, ooh, and we're not sure what we've got here.
Okay, so what are you excited about then? Because obviously since we spoke, there's a feasibility study come out, you've a bunch of other targets which we've talked about in the past. So what are you excited about?
Yes, and again, kind of grading on kind of how have we advanced the 4 projects. I've talked about 2 that we've drilled, but haven't got totally excited about. Well, the next 2, we've actually added a third as a 5th, where we're just we're beside ourselves with excitement. The first one is called El Potro, which was a new introduction to the portfolio in September of this year, and it is it came through our local network. It came through contacts that we had in Ecuador. It's a 1,100 hectare mining license, a small scale mining license. So we've got all the right permits to be able to kind of advance exploration there, and our geologists were the first geologists on site. There have been no professional geologists on site. And basically, it's a huge, rich porphyry sticking out of the ground at surface. It's just beyond exciting. There are incredible stockworks around. There's chalcopyrite, bornite, molybdenite, all of the right copper minerals that a geologist could get really excited about.
So put it in English.
Okay, so these big porphyry systems can when they're at surface, you can sometimes get something called a lithocap sitting on top, which is often an indication that you're in the center of something, and you can get a kind of a surrounding it. You can get stockworks, and then you can get kind of a halo of molybdenite. We have got all of those indications. We've got the stockworks, but incredibly intense stockwork, very, very high density of quartz veining. We've got kind of a halo of molybdenite around the outside, and actually molybdenite coming into it. We've got copper minerals shot through it, and we've done a channel sample across this lithocap, and we've tested 100 meters of it. The eastern end graded 0.2 grams a ton, and then the western 50 meters graded 2.5 grams a ton. I mean, this is super grades over big distances. We are all totally stoked about El Potro. So that's really exciting. And that's
what are you going to do about it, though, in terms of, well, we may should talk money in a minute, but is that become your number 1 priority as a result?
Yes, it is. We've got to build a camp up there. It's quite remote. It's not far from it's not far, but they're just the road isn't built up there yet. So we've got to get the camp built, and then we can do systematic exploration. It's really windy and rainy up there. We were going to call the project Hell, but we've ended up calling it Cult. It's gone from Infierno to Potro, which means cult or foe. So once we've got a camp up there, then we're going to do systematic exploration, and we'll come into drilling it next year. Ideally, we'd get it done sooner, but there's a terrible weather window in the middle of the year, so it'll probably be September.
Okay,
but we're pushing as hard as we can for that.
Understood. Let's talk about the other 2, Los Santos,
okay.
Possibly.
Macaramina, we always were planning to drill that right at the end of the year, but the water permits, it's going to be probably early next year, probably end of Q1, Q2. So apologies, that is a slip, but the next project that we've been working on is Los Santos, and we were ready to drill this almost in the middle of the year, but we hadn't signed the definitive agreement. So we signed the letter of intent, or the MOU, a year ago in December the 10th, so pretty much a year ago. And it's taken us a full year working with our local partner just to get the signature on the blinking definitive agreement. We went round and round and round, and I was joking in the end. I said, we're not trying to merge BHP and Valley here. It's a simple earn-in. Anyway, while we were doing that.
So who's the partner? Who's the other partner?
Oh, it's just a local owner who had the license and has been sitting on it for 20 years doing nothing at all. They had one just who had a pendulum who was going around saying, I think there's gold over here. I mean, it was beyond comic. During the time that we were doing all those negotiations, our team has been working like troopers in the field. We've just announced that we've discovered 6 new target areas within this. Now, Los Santos, just to remind you, is to the east of Cangrejos, where Lumina Gold have got 17 million ounces of contained metal, contained gold. So we have got some Lumina style targets in that license area, which is big. It's 2,200 hectares. We've got 6 target areas, some breccias, we got some really nice gold results, on structure, 21 meters at 3 grams a ton. In fact, when we opened up that, when we found that structure and took 21 meters at 3 grams a ton, we thought, okay, we'll just go 100 meters onto the flank of the hill, and we'll put in a trench across here. We hit with our first, as we kind of went down, we hit some really good material. It came out 10.7 grams a ton. And the local guys the local laborers that we use, they said, oh, no, this, we want to mine this. And they started coming with sacks, and we quickly covered it in the thing and said, no, nothing to see here, move along. So, we've got some super gold targets, but really recently, in fact, we haven't even got the results back on this, and quite close to the camp, we've found this extraordinary set of copper showings. So in a creek that runs east-west, the whole fabric and all the mineralization in this area runs north-south. We found this creek running east-west, and in it, there's an outcrop of about 180 meters, and over half of it has got sheeted veins of chalcopyrite with bornite. These are copper-rich minerals. Bornite is 67% copper. Chalcopyrite has 34.5% copper. Sheeted veins, veinlets of chalcopyrite, up to 2% bornite in some of them, 15-meter wide. They're almost stockwork zones, but because they've got this orientation, and we prefer to call them sheeted, there's copper in the matrix of the rocks, and we've got 92 meters of this across the 180 meters. I mean, it's more than half of it is made up of incredible copper mineralization visually. I mean, some are less intense than others, but 3 or 4 of them are just, mind-blowing. So very easy to drill. We're just going to come in and just drill across that. So we're hugely excited about Los Santos, and we should be drilling that. As I said, we were ready to drill it earlier this year. Now we've got the permits, put the platforms in, have a quick Christmas break, and then we'll just hit it hard early January.
Okay, so you're very excited about the geology there. I'm not sure if the market recognizes it yet or understands it yet, because you seem to just track your other business partner, Adventus Mining, in the sense that if they're doing something, you get a reaction from the market. If they go down, you go down. So how do you start to get credit, value for the projects outside of the Adventus deal this year? I mean, is it just you've got to put out some good drill results? Is it as simple as that, or is there a story to be told?
It was as simple as that, because all of the value that we've been doing so far has been linked to the El Domo and Curipamba project, and all of the exploration stuff that we've been talking about has essentially just been talk so far, and we've just got to deliver those results. Watchers of our stock, and there are lots of people watching. I speak to a lot of fund managers who say, once you've got once you've delivered your first major intersection, we're going to be coming into this because we really like the team. We really like the way that you operate in Ecuador. If we're going to go into Ecuador, we need to go in with a group that really understands it and knows how to operate there. But we can't do it at the moment because you haven't got your independent, 100% owned major kind of target. So yeah, we're waiting for as soon as we get our own drill rigs in. I mean, the way I talk about it internally with our team is I say, guys, we can take our share price from 30 to 35 cents to 50 or 60 cents on the back of El Domo as we get the mining permit, maybe even 70 cents. Let's call it a double. But if we want to really turn this into a 5 or a 10 bagger, we've got to pull out a real resource. And we're here to make those big discoveries.
That's certainly the aim. And I think, the big challenge for you next year, apart from the drilling, is the financing of the drilling. So you've got some income through from the drill rigs, which and the management fees, etc., that you operate. But when would you go out to try to raise a decent chunk of money? Is it, are we looking, because obviously you've got two projects, you've said it'll be the third, fourth quarter of next year before we get out then. You've got one target now, so you need that to kind of hit for you at the beginning of the year to be able to go and even countenance having those conversations at these prices, don't you?
Yes. Okay. So we may only drill El Potro in Q3, but there's as we uncover that porphyry, we're going to be able to produce more and more evidence that we're onto something really big. So I don't think on El Potro it looks so good, and we're already getting inbound. It's only 40 kilometers north of Rio Blanco in Peru, which is 1.2 billion tons at 0.7% copper, and it's got all of those hallmarks. I mean, I have spent hours already speaking to majors who are very interested in that project. So I don't think we're going to need necessarily a drill hole on that particular one. But in answer to your question, we'll end the year with around $3 million in cash, which is more than enough to carry us through till kind of Q3 next year, and fund the drilling on Santos and on Macará, and do loads of really good work on El Potro. During that time, we hope that the mine permit comes through on El Domo. So we think we're going to be in a very good position before we need to come back to the market.
Okay. Well, look, I appreciate the update. I just wanted to sort of, if things had gone entirely to plan in 2021, and I think, broadly, yes. And I think looking at your share price behavior, it's slightly erratic, but moving sideways is a win in this market, I think, for the last 4 or 5 months. So that's not been too bad, but it's more about how do you set yourself up for next year. And I think you seem to be very clear about what you need to do and the order of play. So I appreciate that.
Getting drills turning in Ecuador for us has been quite slow, and just in terms of permits and hitting those targets, getting access into the ground. But Los Santos is completely open. We've got the platforms being built at the moment. We will be starting the year with a bang. Plus, we've just got those extraordinary copper showings. I've never really seen anything like it. That we're going to be putting a hole under very soon. We've taken about 100 meters of saw cut channel samples, kind of more or less 2 meter samples, and those results will be coming back in January and February as well. So we might start on the gold and then move to the copper during the course of that drill program. But yeah, straight out of the gates next year.